After the amnesia set in, I stopped trying to control Victoria. We stayed in our own lanes. She poured resources and connections into Ethan, paving a bright, smooth path to stardom for him. Everyone else came running to warn me, stop faking the memory loss. If you keep this up, the position of Vance's family son-in-law is going to belong to someone else. I just smiled, while silently cursing. Don't you people ruin this for me. I finally have a life where I don't have to work and still have money to burn. Later, when she got into a car accident back in the States, I was abroad chasing concerts. Her best friend called, demanding I return. I played dumb. Yeah. Oh my God. Is she okay? I'm so worried. I'll be back right away. In reality, I didn't go back until she was already discharged. I put on an apologetic face but spouted nonsense. My wallet got stolen the second I landed. I was left with just my phone. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it back in time. But she just looked at me, walked over, and held my hand, her eyes rimmed with red. Can we stop fighting? Ethan had just taken the top spot on trending for starring in a AAA historical blockbuster. The comments were flooded with his fans and paid bots listing all the hardships he'd endured over the years. They said he'd finally made it. At that moment, I was sitting in a VIP hospital ward, touching my head. Holy crap. Oh my God. Looking at the luxe environment of the room, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but twitch upward. My eyes were practically glowing. I take a nap, and suddenly I'm a billionaire? Just then, a nurse walked in. I pointed at the bandages on my head and asked hurriedly, "When can I get out of here?" She spoke softly. "We probably need to observe you for another 2 or 3 days. If there are no adverse reactions, you can leave." I waved my hand dismissively. "Okay, great. I can leave now then."
I'm fine. I stared at her intensely.
"Can I?" She paused, stunned, then said, "I'll go get the doctor to check on you. If everything looks good, you can be discharged." Great. After the nurse left, I stiffly reached for my phone. I didn't know what to expect, but one look gave me a heart attack. I was a bit nearsighted, so I held it close. The pinned contact at the top was labeled, "Wife." There was one message. "If you keep making a scene, we're getting a divorce." Divorce. The next second, I called my mom. As soon as she picked up, I asked, "Did you win the lottery? You little brat. Hurry up and tell Victoria to give your brother." I hung up before she could finish. Immediately after, I called my dad. Same question, same answer. At 3:33 p.m., I confirmed that I had not struck it rich. The one with the money was this wife who wanted to divorce me. I immediately checked my bank app. After counting the zeros, I went back to read the chat history with wife. I almost passed out. Wait, was my brain crushed in a door before I woke up? I had actually been screaming and crying, demanding this cheating wife come back to the family. Oh my God! I pressed my hands to my temples. Unbelievable. Since when did I become such a pretentious drama queen? I walked to the bathroom, saw my haggard reflection, and pointed at the mirror. Jared, when did you get so pathetic? Begging for love? Did a door slam on your head? Once the doctor cleared me, I didn't waste a second. I headed straight for the mall for a makeover. The salesgirl smiled so hard her eyes disappeared when she saw how freely I was spending. She threw every sweet compliment in the book at me. Walking out of the mall, I reeked of money and decadence. Delicious. Truly delicious. Next stop, a high-end club. Carrying a suitcase full of cash, I used a stack of bills to lift a waitress's chin. "Do you like me?" Her eyes lit up like laser beams. She immediately cooed, "I like you the most, sir. You're handsome, you're fit. Who wouldn't like you? If someone doesn't like you, they must be blind." I asked another one, "Do you love me?" She immediately dropped to one knee at my feet. "Sir, other than my father, you are the person I love and care about most." Holding a handful of cash, I laughed and told them to fan me with it. See? Love is easy. With money, what kind of love can't you get? These models had such sweet mouths. They could say anything with a straight face. I was so happy I didn't know which way was north. Relying on hazy memories, I made my way back to a magnificent villa. My legs felt weak and my heart trembled. Huge fountain, Wow, a corridor too. Holy cow, a garden. Woohoo, and a swimming pool. The grin on my face widened. This is my house. I opened the front door. The living room was dark. I turned on my phone flashlight and fumbled for the switch. But before I could flip it, I heard a scream. Ah, Jesus! Scared me to death. I took a deep breath, clutching my pounding chest. My legs went soft from the fright as I leaned against the wall and looked toward the sound. A second later, the lights flicked on. I instinctively squinted. When I opened my eyes, I saw a man hiding behind a woman. It was a bit far, so I squinted to see clearly. The woman's voice was cold, laced with impatience. What is it now? What game are you playing? Jumping off the building or slitting your wrists? My eyes hadn't adjusted yet, but the man beside her seemed terrified of me. His seductive, peach blossom eyes looked a bit watery. I raised my hands. Sorry to interrupt your fun. Really sorry. It was pitch black, I didn't see anything. I'll go upstairs. As you were. After saying that, I greased the soles of my feet and bolted upstairs. Following my vague memory, I opened a door and went in. Once again, I sighed. What a huge room. When I came out of the shower, there was another person in the room. It was the woman from downstairs. I figured she must be the wife in my contacts, Victoria Vance. She had the sleeves of her blouse rolled up, leaning against the wall, staring at me. Coldly. What trick are you pulling this time? Before I could speak, she curled her lip in a sneer. Amnesia? I knew that even if I showed her the doctor's report, she wouldn't believe it, so I quickly waved my hands. No. I'm good. I'm great. Silence fell over the room. I had no feelings for her and no memories. Right now, she was just a woman standing in front of me. I hesitated and asked, "Is there anything else? If not, please leave." I didn't believe a cheating woman would want to stay here. She lazily lifted her eyelids to look at me. Weren't you the one crying and screaming for me to come back? Haha, well, if you have things to do, you can go. I gave a dry laugh. She shot me a cold look and went into the bathroom. I sat on the bed, scrolling through my phone, reading half the messages. Turns out Ethan was Victoria's childhood friend. But during college, Ethan's family went bankrupt. He didn't get into the same university as Victoria, and their youthful romance was locked away in their hearts. When they met again, Ethan was a nobody extra in the entertainment industry, while Victoria was already the CEO of the Vance Group. The story arc was straight out of a romance novel. She pitted his past and wanted to pave a smooth road to stardom for him. Except I was the obstacle. During that time, I had jumped out and accused Ethan of being a homewrecker, a male mistress. Ethan's rivals seized the opportunity to pour oil on the fire, and he was roasted so badly he almost quit. The industry. I searched it up. The final result ended with me issuing a public apology. The gist was that I had misunderstood them, and Ethan hadn't damaged our relationship. What a load of crap. So touching. So protective. I yawned, deciding to go to sleep before she came out. It wouldn't be awkward if I was asleep. When I woke up in the morning, I was the only one in the room. After breakfast, I casually asked Mrs. Higgins, the housekeeper, "Mrs. Higgins, what do I usually do at this time?" Huh? Mrs. Higgins paused her work, thinking for a long time before carefully saying, "Sir, usually at this time you go to Mrs. Vance's company? To work?" "Ooh, no." "Okay, got it." For the next few weeks, Victoria didn't come back. I made friends with a few rich second-generation heirs. They took me to high-end clubs, drank tea, and ate dim sum. Took you long enough. You finally saw the light. The speaker was Jax. He was my closest friend. Standard handsome guy material. I shook my head internally. Women, you have such a good husband at home, yet you can't kick the habit of liking wildflowers outside. He slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. Sitting next to him was a female celebrity, who reached out to hold the ashtray for him. The model next to me was also very perceptive. She picked up a strawberry and fed it to my lips, whispering, "Sir, have a strawberry." Then she leaned into my ear. "Does Sir want to play a game?" Intrigued, I asked, "What game?" The model looked pure and innocent, but her smile was incredibly seductive. I stared for a second too long. She leaned closer to my ear, but before she could get a few words out, the door was kicked open violently. A woman in an exquisite suit stormed in, full of rage, and slapped the celebrity across the face. I covered my mouth in shock, while Jax and the other rich kids looked much calmer. The celebrity didn't dare fight back. Finally, Jax examined his fingernails and spoke nonchalantly. "Done making a scene? If you're done, get out. Don't scare my brother." In the dim private room, the yellow light from the hallway hit the woman's face, showing her pale complexion. She took off her coat, draped it over Jax, and then yanked his hand. "Come home with me." After Jax left, I asked the remaining heirs what was that about. They laughed and said one sentence: "Only the officials are allowed to set fires. The common people aren't even allowed to light a lamp." Walking out of the club, I tilted my head and looked at the model. "Why are you here?" She smiled, her answer concise. "I need money." I asked, "Are you clean?" She paused for a moment, as if just realizing what I meant, and nodded. "Yeah." I smiled. "All right, I'll give you 10 grand a month. Hang out with me." Her lips moved slightly. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Real name, Lily." When Victoria and Ethan's names hit the trending topics, Lily and I got up at 4 a.m. just to chase a sunrise. There's a road in the city surrounded by the ocean on 3 sides. She rode an electric scooter, and I sat on the back. There were plenty of people around us doing the same thing. The horizon was already covered in magnificent rosy clouds. Coconut trees lined both sides of the East Loop, the breeze blowing gently. By 5 a.m., a crowd stood on the beach. Took nearly 20 minutes. The salted egg yolk sun slowly rose above the sea level, the light dazzling but not blinding. When I got back to the villa, I hit the bed and passed out. I opened my eyes again only because I was woken by the ceaseless noise of messages and calls. Irritated, I grabbed a handful of hair and shouted, "Damn it!
So loud, so loud."
I violently grabbed the pillow, losing it. I opened my phone. People I knew, people I didn't know, everyone was messaging to ask if Victoria and I had divorced. Most of them said, "Don't fake amnesia anymore. If you keep pretending, the position of the Vance son-in-law is going to change hands." Inside, I scoffed. "Don't you people ruin this for me. I finally have a life where I don't have to work and still have money to burn." I scratched my head, took a deep breath, and opened the browser. Well, the #1 trending topic was Victoria Vance and Ethan. Turns out some high school classmate of theirs posted a video on TikTok. Recently, a series called The Secret Worries of 17-Year-Olds had gone viral. After the transition effect, there was a photo of someone in a classroom. In the background of the photo, a few students in uniforms were captured in the frame. I looked down at the photo, which netizens had zoomed in on and restored to high definition. You could clearly see Ethan's face. The teenage boy was looking down at the girl standing in front of him, his eyes bright. The girl was leaning against the chalkboard at the back of the room, standing casually, looking up slightly with a smile on her lips. The comments below were stacking up one after another. Is this love and high school? Interesting. So all those coincidences weren't coincidences. Ethan really has been escorted by CEO Vance the whole way. Comment above, say more. This is so sweet. But wait, isn't Victoria married? What is this? Is Ethan a homewrecker? In the sea of people shipping this broken mirror reunited couple, a discordant voice rarely appeared. But people only want to hear what they want to hear and see what they want to see. Once a voice appears that doesn't fit the fairy tale expectation, they use all sorts of "I heard and I understand" to reconstruct their shipping world. That husband isn't nearly as handsome as Ethan. Plus, I heard he used some tricks to marry into the Vance family. Otherwise, how could a guy like him enter a prestigious family like that? I agree. Ethan and CEO Vance meeting again just proves that even the heavens couldn't stand them missing out on each other. The comments went back and forth, but my head was empty. I couldn't remember how I met Victoria, or how I married her. I scratched my head. Why would a wealthy heiress marry me? Didn't her parents object? I couldn't come up with an answer, so I stopped thinking about it. That evening, I waited for Lily outside the Polytechnic University for dinner. She had taken a year off due to family issues but had returned to school a few days ago. She was wearing a light blue dress with a white cardigan over it. My head throbbed, a blurry image flickering in and out. Sir, have you been waiting long? I shook my head gently. It's okay. Is there anything good to eat around your school? Do you want to try Korean barbecue? A new place opened up. It seems pretty good. Sure. Polytechnic and City University were close to each other. As we passed City University, I slowly stopped walking, looking at the familiar gates. Lily asked softly, Sir, what's wrong? I think I used to study here. We were about to leave when an elderly voice came from behind. Is that Jared? I turned around. A little old man pushing a bicycle was walking over happily. The last time you came to school for an event was years ago. What, did you come specifically to see this old man today? I pursed my lips. Saying I had amnesia usually sounded ridiculous to people, so I smiled. Yes, Professor, I came to see you. How is your health lately? The professor smiled and waved his hand. Good, good. I know Victoria is busy with work. Oh, and this is? He pointed at Lily. I said my friend. From Polytechnic next door. Hello, student. Lily bowed her head slightly. Hello, Professor. The professor nodded, looked at me, his eyes full of kind laughter, and said, Sigh. Time really flies. You two were just freshmen back then. That girl ran all over the city in the middle of the night just to scour a complete set of collector's edition models for you, even though she had a competition the next day. Being young is truly wonderful. In the blink of an eye, you've been married 5 years. Hearing this, the smile on my lips froze. I am 28 this year. The professor continued, back then, I wanted her to continue for her master's and PhD. She joined my research institute as a freshman. She was a rare genius, but her parents objected. She told me she had to earn a future for the two of you. In an instant, my heart stung sharply, and an image suddenly surfaced in my mind. A girl wearing a blue dress, weaving through the streets and alleys. A clear, bright voice rang in my ear. Yo, classmate, pretty stylish. Nice tan. I feel like I'm too pale. I came out to get some sun too. Oh, look at me rambling and forgetting the time. I have to get to class. Come visit this old man together when you have time. I smiled. Definitely. Take care of yourself. After the professor left, Lily saw my expression was off and asked carefully, Sir, are you okay? You don't look so good. It's nothing, just remembered some things. The night in the city was bustling, golden light illuminating the skyscrapers. Jax was drunk, and I went to pick him up. A waiter led me to a private room. He was sitting on the floor, head resting on the table, his curly hair messy. I didn't know how he drank himself into this state. Hearing a sound, he groggily lifted his head. His voice slurred. Is that Jared? Yeah. Come on, I'm taking you home. Home? He blinked, looking at me blankly for a long time. Finally, he pulled the corners of his mouth into a smile. Right. My home. A home with only me. Laughing, he suddenly remembered something, unlocked his phone, and handed it to me. The lit screen showed an email from a foreign university. An acceptance offer. I'm going abroad to study. I opened my mouth in surprise. Congrats, brother. I'll come visit you. Deal. Remember to come find me. I'll show you my school. But he didn't look happy. Looking at the scattered bottles, I said, Isn't this the school you wanted? HM? Why do you say that? I feel like you don't look very happy. He froze, then tipped his head back and laughed. No, I just think it's kind of miraculous. I looked at him in confusion. He spoke softly, recounting a story. We got together in high school. Childhood sweethearts, grew up together. Just like we planned, we got married right after college graduation. But the 7-year itch, in the 2nd year of marriage, she cheated. You know what? That guy. If he just got a nose job, he'd be a clone of me. I felt it was absolutely absurd. He covered his face, his voice choking up. She said she'd been with me too long. She couldn't feel that first love spark anymore. She said nothing happened between them, but my email, my phone, it was full of bed photos that guy sent me. I don't understand why the love back then was so sincere. She clearly had eyes only for me. How can she say she loves someone else and just loves someone else? I demanded a divorce back then. I'd rather break the jade than keep the tile whole. She was dirty. Why would I want her? But I couldn't leave. Couldn't divorce. My dad told me the two companies' interests were tied together. Couldn't divorce. I could only endure it. Endure her saying she loved me while sleeping with another man. He gritted his teeth and swept the glass bottles off the table. They crashed to the floor and shattered, just like his whitewashed marriage. No matter how you pieced it together, it would never be the original shape. She wouldn't divorce either. Just trapped me in this rotten marriage. I felt like I was going crazy, Jared. I became someone I didn't recognize. He leaned his face on my shoulder, sobbing softly, his voice carrying a sense of release. Now I can finally leave. I regret it so much. I regret being with her so much. I wiped the tears that had unconsciously flowed from my own eyes and gently patted his back. The room was looping the song Mount Fuji. Who can possess Mount Fuji just by loving it? To possess, one must first learn how to accept loss. Wandering along the snowy path, why shed tears over a good thing? Who can claim Mount Fuji as their own simply through love? The car stopped in front of a villa. Lily got out and gently helped Jax up. I took his index finger and placed it on the fingerprint scanner. After putting him in bed, I said to Lily, "You go ahead. I'll stay here to take care of him. Take the car. I'll pick it up in a few days." "Okay. Goodbye, sir." She turned to leave, took one step, then tilted her head slightly and asked, "Sir, was the person the professor talked about today your wife?" My eyelashes lowered. "I suppose so." She nodded slightly and walked out. In the middle of the night, I sat on the balcony letting the wind hit me, rubbing my temples. My memories were sparse. Back then, I lived between two families. One was my mom's new family. One was my dad's new family. There was originally another house, but neither of them wanted the other to gain an advantage, so they sold it and split the money. Neither home had a room for me. I could only sleep in the living room. At that time, I often fantasized that I was adopted, that my biological parents would find me and take me away, and I'd have a room of my own. Or I'd fantasize I was a billionaire with a huge villa, a huge room, and a huge soft bed. While I was lost in my thoughts, the phone rang. It was Victoria. I wrapped the blanket tighter around myself, thinking of Jax's painful confession in the private room. Maybe they really did love once. Maybe they loved too much. Only when you realize the love is gone does it become unbearable. The phone rang, stopped, rang again. It seemed she wouldn't stop until I picked up. After I lost my memory, everyone was shocked by my changes. Jax said that before, if Victoria dared to give Ethan a movie invested in by their company, I would have stormed straight into Victoria's office to trash it, then traveled 1,000 miles just to tear Ethan apart. But now, to me, Victoria was a stranger. I had no feelings for her, aside from the images that occasionally flashed in my mind. I bit my finger. Victoria was so rich. I should get a lot of money in the divorce, right? I could still be a rich man, I just might not be able to give Lily 10 grand a month. The phone kept vibrating. I reached out and answered. The moment it connected, Victoria's furious voice came through the receiver. "Where are you? Why did it take you so long to pick up? Look at the time. It's 2 a.m. Where are you?" I propped up my head. "I went on a trip. Is something wrong?" Silence for a moment. Only breathing could be heard. "By yourself? With a friend? Anything else? Which friend? How come I?" Too annoying. I hung up silently. The night was pitch black. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Rather break the jade than keep the tile whole. Maybe the Jared back then thought the same thing. Later, on the first day of filming for Ethan's historical drama, Victoria showed up on set. They looked so compatible. Only this time it didn't hit the trending topics. And I, in the corner of some room, found those collector's edition models the professor had mentioned. I pulled out my phone and searched. This full series of models was hyped to an insane price back then. But as the years passed, the models had lost their former color, turning yellow. In this locked box, there were many other gifts and photos. They had been forgotten by their owner in a corner of time, gathering dust and yellowing. The Victoria in the photos looked much younger than now. Since I came back, I had only seen her once, and I hadn't seen her smile. But in these photos, Victoria was smiling in every single one, her gaze always fixed on me. There was also a book inside from which a postcard fell out. It was actually a postcard for the novel Ethan was starring in. On the back, a long message was written. One wrong move, lose the whole game. I thought for a long time but couldn't figure out which step was the wrong one. That day, I stood at the crossroads. Heavy snow was falling, blurring the road ahead. The winter this year was too cold. I felt like I might not wait for the next spring. The male lead for the adaptation of the novel The Gambit was Ethan. Back then, she said she bought the rights so I could have absolute say in the adaptation. I believed her. She delayed casting, the project didn't move forward. She said the company had a big project and would start filming once the funds flowed back. I believed her too. In the end, she lied to me, just like my parents lied when they sold the house, telling me their homes were my home. They said I was crazy. I think I must have been sick. I actually wanted to drag the two of them to die with me. Anyone could play the lead in The Gambit except Ethan. Through these words, I seemed to see the Jared who was incredibly desperate every single day and night. I took a deep breath and looked coldly at the models on the carpet. I took the book and the postcard and told Mrs. Higgins to throw all the trash inside the box away. Just then, Jax called. "Are you packed?" I looked at the luggage next to me. A singer Jax had loved for years was holding a concert abroad. Interestingly, this concert was finally happening 5 years after ticket sales. Back then, buying a pair of tickets came with a discount. Many people bought them for their friends and partners. 5 years later, were the people who promised to see the concert together still by each other's side? The singer had posted that exact question. And you only needed the 2 verified tickets to get in. I drafted a text and walked out of the villa dragging my suitcase. My mood was complex, but I couldn't betray the Jared who was once helpless and alone. After the plane took off, the drafted text was automatically posted online. "Hello everyone, I am Jared, and I am also the author of The Gambit. If this production insists on having a third party who wrecks someone's family star in my work, then I am personally willing to pay the penalty for breach of contract. Victoria Vance, CEO of the Vance Group, and I have been together since freshman year. You say I used tricks to marry her? Then I also want to ask CEO Vance, what tricks did I use to marry you? I'm very curious too. In this relationship, you drove me crazy, simply because a crazy person's words aren't credible. Those netizens adding fuel to the fire. Because they ship a couple, they can make up any lie, throw any dirty water on me. I've attached 4 images. The first is our marriage certificate. Back then, we finally got her parents' approval because the company she founded for me went public. That was what she told her professor back then. She was earning a future for us. The second image is the model series that was popular back then. She went to the neighboring city for a competition and ran through every alley in town just to buy the full set. The third image is the photo we used to announce our relationship on our social feeds. The rings on our hands were designed by her personally, engraved with our initials. Why is the fourth image black? Because white can be turned into black. Victoria always told me she and Ethan grew up together. She felt sorry for him, wanted to help him. But all these years, you promoted him, gave him resources and connections. Everyone can see that fact. You never responded to the rumors online, letting netizens point their spears at me, letting them believe I climbed the social ladder, that I destroyed your so-called love. Every time you told me you were just friends. Is this really just a friendship? Is this how friends act? I posted a long essay accusing you. Back then, you swore to me you were just friends, said I was overthinking, said Ethan's career was just starting, asking if my conscience could handle ruining a person. I was love-struck then. I actually believed nothing was going on, so I issued the apology. Reaching this point today, regarding this failed marriage, it is not my fault. It is the fault of both of you. You destroyed my longing for marriage, destroyed my hope for the future. Now, Victoria Vance, I am officially notifying you. We are divorcing. This statement dropped like a bombshell on the internet. Ethan had just finished filming. He was happily interacting with fans. A fan pointed at the RV and teased Ethan, "Ethan, are you hiding a beauty in there? Look, you can't even hide the smile on your face." In front of all the cameras, Ethan didn't deny it. Instead, he raised the corners of his mouth in a smug smile. Suddenly, a gasp came from the crowd. "Ethan, is what Jared said true?" The originally harmonious scene instantly went silent. Everyone pulled out their phones. Ethan's face turned ugly instantly. Forgetting his image, he grabbed his phone. A moment later, the scene turned chaotic. Everyone was asking Ethan what his relationship with Victoria really was, and if he had destroyed someone else's family. No one could accept that their idol was a morally bankrupt homewrecker. Ethan's face went pale. He didn't dare say a word. If he spoke out of turn now, the PR team's subsequent damage control might be limited by his words, so he had to bite his tongue and say nothing. Victoria only found out when her parents and shareholders blew up her phone. She had just arrived outside the villa. Seeing the long post, she ran upstairs in a panic, but didn't find Jared. She hurriedly took out her phone to call him. No answer. The villa was terrifyingly quiet. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing since the start. She sat on the bed, looking up to see their wedding photo, only to discover there was nothing there anymore. Jared wanted to divorce her. Victoria looked down at the long text he posted and lowered her head in defeat. She did not love Jared. How could she not love him? She closed her eyes. His diminishing smiles floated in her mind. The clear, crescent moon eyes gone. It seemed she hadn't seen him in a long time. He hadn't come to find her or messaged her in a long time. When she realized it, she wanted to come back to him, wanted to message him. But once a person gets used to being proud, they can't lower their head. She thought he was throwing a tantrum like before. Later, she waited and waited, but he never came. She sat there until dawn, then grabbed her coat and walked out. Regarding this matter, she was truly wrong. Wrong beyond redemption. Vance Group stocks began to plummet yesterday, hitting the limit. All the shareholders were blaming Victoria for not answering her phone last night, missing the optimal time for clarification. They said it could still be salvaged if she issued a denial. But Victoria issued an apology. Jax and I went to other countries after the concert. While we watched foreign tuk-tuks flying down the streets, a call came from home. Her best friend called me saying Victoria had been in a car accident, pretty serious, and asked if I could come back to see her. Jax and I looked at each other and found it a bit funny. This scandal still had heat. I didn't believe they didn't know. I played dumb. Yeah. Oh my God. Is she okay? I'm so worried. I'll be back right away. Then I immediately hung up and continued sightseeing. When I finally returned to the country, it was months later, as Jax was about to start school abroad. I went back to the villa to pack my things. As I was changing shoes in the entryway, Victoria walked down. I hadn't seen her much since the amnesia. I just knew she had gotten thinner. Although we had ended things unpleasantly on paper, I was still her husband. I put on an apologetic face but spouted nonsense. My wallet got stolen the second I landed. I was left with just my phone. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it back in time. She looked at me, walked up, and held my hand, her eyes rimmed with red. Can we stop fighting? I smiled and pulled my hand away. I'm not fighting with you. The divorce is real. Do you plan to sign the agreement? Or do you want me to sue you in court? Your company's stock has crashed to the bottom. Hasn't it? Jared. She closed her eyes in despair, tears sliding from the corners. Really don't know how it became like this. I genuinely just wanted to help him at first. There was a dinner. I walked past a private room, and he was being peer pressured to drink in public. We grew up together. I saw how dazzling he used to be. I just wanted to give him a few resources. But later, I don't know why it turned into this. Jared, I never did anything to betray you. I looked at her coldly. Victoria. Emotional cheating is still cheating. It's no different from the physical kind. Do you know why I had a car accident back then? I looked at her confused and despairing eyes and smiled. You didn't believe I had an accident. You didn't believe I really lost my memory. You just thought it was a tactic I used to keep you. Back then, someone told me you were going to let Ethan star in the Gambit.
Victoria.
I sighed softly. Why did it have to be him? Were you in such a rush to disgust me? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was obsessed. He said if he could play the male lead in this drama, it might help him aim for Best Actor next time. I thought if he became famous, I wouldn't have let down our childhood bond, and we wouldn't have to fight about him every time. Victoria's features were exquisite, but right now she was full of exhaustion. Her eyes were amber, looking much softer now. We've reached the end. You have to remember, from start to finish, you are the one who wronged me. You are the one who betrayed me, Victoria. I don't want to divorce Jared. She gritted her teeth and hugged me. Give me one more chance, okay? I was really wrong. I was wrong. The next time we meet, I hope to see the divorce agreement. I don't want us to end up in court. Our ending is already ugly enough, Victoria. I pushed her away, took my suitcase, and went upstairs. Ethan was effectively blacklisted. He messaged me once, asking if I really had to force his hand. Was I trying to drive him to death? Then he started cursing me out. I don't know how he got my contact. I deleted him, but the Jared of the past had already been driven to death by them. Victoria was removed from her position as CEO. In the divorce settlement, she gave me almost her entire fortune.
Jared, I'm truly sorry.
She sat there, pale-faced, looking as if she had aged years in an instant. I finally achieved my dream. I became a super billionaire. I sold the villa she gave me. The winter in the city was too cold. I was going back to my hometown in the south. Before leaving, I went to the university one last time and walked onto the campus. While abroad, I had remembered everything. I walked to the massive sports field. That year, neither my mom nor my dad would give me living expenses. My class schedule was full. I had almost no time to work part-time. PE class ended, and everyone left. I stood under the scorching sun, thinking I should just die. My life seemed to have no hope. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared over my head, accompanied by a girl's clear voice. Joe, classmate, pretty stylish. Nice tan. I feel like I'm too pale. I came out to get some sun too. While I was still conscious, I looked down, struggling to see the person speaking. The girl had short golden hair, her features bright and bold. She didn't hold the umbrella over herself. I don't know if I was seeing stars from hunger or if the light that day was just too blinding. But it actually made me want to grow old with her. The day I left the city, the first snow began to fall. As I went through security, I saw a flash of gold out of the corner of my eye, but it disappeared quickly. When she confessed to me, it was sensational. It was grand. Countless drones formed my name in the eastern suburbs. Fireworks lit up the entire sky, brilliant and vast. Red rose petals formed a carpet leading to a sea of fresh flowers. She said loving someone requires ceremony. Only with ceremony does it show importance, and only then will it last to the end. The beginnings of stories are always beautiful, but the endings often rot away. 19-year-old Victoria. We didn't make it to the end. You betrayed me,